It's designed to create a gateway for artists in whatever stage of their career to figure out the next step. Certainly, since the beginning of this thing, we've been needing to figure out what the next step is. We've all been trying to determine that for ourselves. So the way we have done this historically is people share about themselves, who they are, what they do, and then we just discuss the various challenges that we've been facing. And we try to talk about ways to overcome those. Today, we're going to talk more specifically about ways that we can find funding for ourselves in these times, resources that are available for us so that we can keep it moving and keep it growing.
There are a bunch of relief funds, loans, grants that are out there right now for musicians, artists of all different mediums, but I'm going to focus on the SBA loan. So just some background. The SBA is the Small Business Administration. This is the branch of the government that's really in charge of making sure all the small businesses in the US run properly. They've traditionally had a couple of loans and funding programs in the SBA. I'll show you guys the website right now. So this is the SBA. There's a whole bunch of stuff here. Stuff of your business, like trying to figure out like launching your business, learning about setting up a business, and then there's a bunch of funding programs. And right now there are two big relief options that matter most to musicians. And it's these two on the left here. It's the Paycheck Protection Program and the EIDL loan advance. These debt relief and express bridge loans usually don't pertain to musicians unless you guys already have been working with the SBA. So this EIDL stands for, what is it? Emergency Injury Disaster Loan. And how this works is you're applying for a loan. They give you an advance of up to $10,000 to help you with any kind of economic relief you need that's due to disaster. Now, this first $10,000 is an advance, but it's also forgivable, which means that if that first $10,000, if you declare you can't pay it back, they can forgive it and just wipe the debt, which really translates for us and all small businesses that it's a grant, basically. Like, you can think of it as a grant. It's not an actual grant. You can think of it as a grant because it's forgivable. Now, this EIDL, you can apply for more than $10,000. You can apply up to like $2 million if that's what your company needs. But again, that first $10,000 is the only part that's forgivable. Now, this EIDL has always been around, but then 2 months ago, or whenever Corona started, in the US for real, they started the Paycheck Protection Program, which is basically a beefed up version of the EIDL. It's what that like $300 billion package that the Democrats and Republicans are going back and forth about, we're arguing about. And this PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, is another loan that's designed to help small businesses maintain their employees. Now, there's not that $10K forgivable amount. In the PPP, the loan is fully forgiven. This means that if you get a loan for $50K, that full amount is forgivable. And so these are the two loans from the SBA. They're really important right now. Let me break it down on how we as musicians can apply for this. The first thing we need to all recognize is that we are a small business, and we need to make sure that we organize ourselves and we can show that on paper. And it's a little daunting. The information's out there. It's really confusing on how to present your career as a small business. So this is the easiest way I found. In New York, there is a law that protects freelancers. You sell anything, you provide a service, you provide you have a product that you're selling, regardless of if you register with the government or not, you're considered a sole proprietorship. So for New Yorkers, that's the easiest way to justify that you are a business. It's because, so if that means that if you play gigs, so that's their service you're giving, even if you haven't registered with the government, you're considered a small business, and you're considered your own sole proprietorship. This is a company that you run. It's owned by you. There's no one else in your company. Now, if you're outside New York, it depends from state to state. We have to check your state's laws. There might be other states that have similar laws. Now, if you have that, so the structure for musicians, if you are a sole proprietorship, you own your own company, that means that whoever you play your gigs with are your the word is not employees, they are independent contractors that you're hiring for each gig. So let's say you are a band leader, you go play a gig, you usually go play gigs at whatever bar, XYZ bar. If you hire a keyboardist, you hire a bassist and a drummer, all those people are independent contractors that are under you. Technically, they're supposed, if you pay them more than $600 a year, they're supposed to give you a W-9 that has their social security number, has their info, and basically says on paper that this is an independent contractor that you frequently work with, and this is their info, and that's supposed to be what's on your taxes. Why I bring this up is because the government needs to know when you're applying for this. Their big question is how much money you need, which is determined by your books and determined by how much money do you usually spend. So before you apply for any of these loans, you need to know throughout the year or regularly, month to month, how much do you spend hiring your musicians, or how much do you spend per gig? How much are your expenses, like the Ubers there and back, the food that you're spending, like the musicians you're hiring, any equipment you have to buy or loan or rent for it, and yeah, and any other expenses that have to do with the gig. All of this helps you determine how much you need. So the first step is to really go back throughout the year and figure out and write down your expenses and your income. So there are a couple things you can do with that. You can use like QuickBooks. You can use QuickBooks. You can use I've heard another one. I forgot the other one. Let me show you what I've done. Hold on. I have Resonators pulled up, but I want to show you my band's one so that you can see what it more looks like. But after you do your books, you should be able to know like how much you want to apply for. And for most of us, it's going to be under 10K. But the thing is here, apply for 10K if you don't know. Before I show the books, let me answer this question from Kissa. You're asking for a producer as well?
Yes. You need, should you be getting a W-9 from like your producer as well?
Yeah, I mean, technically, they're still considered independent contractors that you're hiring, right? So if you wanted to be on top of everything, you can go back, like all these W-9s and everything. I think you can issue or you can collect the W-9 6 months after your business transaction with them. So
take a quick pause, Ben. I think you blew everybody's mind just now. I'm
Yeah.
judging by the expression on people's faces.
wait, what?
So I can get a W-9 after $600 of getting paid from like an independent contractor?
No, the opposite way. So if you if you've paid a guitar, okay, let's say you've hired a guitarist for 6 gigs, each paying $100. They technically owe you a W-9, and that amount is technically supposed to be stated on your tax return, or on your tax report, on your taxes. So I tell most musicians that the most important thing is just get your books first. The W-9s you can go collect later if you really need it, and then and don't get hung up on like, oh, my books, like, oh, I don't have W-9s from all the people I'm supposed to have them from. I didn't issue 1099, blah 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 blah. Don't worry about that as much as getting your books in order. So let me just show you real quick what the books can look like. So you guys have an example. Can everyone see this?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is my balance sheet that for this last year for 2019. Now I did this literally and the quarantine started, and I was like, oh, I don't have anything to do. So every day I just went back into my bank account and wrote down, saw anything that had to do with music at all, wrote it down. I did like a month a day. So I went through it. I was like, okay, let me do January, and then tomorrow or next week I did February, et cetera, et cetera.
Damn, Ben, how you gonna make us look bad? You know what I mean, I just caught up on a new series on Netflix, and your ass straight away.
Look at this.
Let me get in Excel. I have all this extra time. All right, continue.
well, but okay. So this is how like straightforward this can be, because so the way this works is that So how this works? I am a sole proprietorship. I own my company called Benjamin Chin, which is a musician. It's a it's a music company that provides entertainment. I have independent contractors, which are the people I hire for each gig. That could be underneath my band name. It could be underneath Q&A, or it could be I'm playing with other people. Maybe I'm playing in Royal Chaos, or maybe I'm playing with Olivia or Zavid, at which point I am an independent contractor that's being hired by them. So that's just to refresh, like that's what the business structure is. I just say that again so that when you're going through your books, you can see, you just have that in mind, so you know which things to collect, because there are some people who get confused, that they're like, well, should I let me just go through it, and so you can understand this, because this looks like a mess, but this is really all you need. It's just on my left is my assets, which is everything, like basically anything coming in, any money coming in, and on the right is my liabilities, which is any money going out. This is, you can have, I did it with like price, unit, total, and all that. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is who it's coming from, what date it's coming from, what the total amount is, and that's all you need. And if you, for your own sake, you might want to put a description just so you remember what these payments are for. But if you take a look at it, okay, so like just looking at this first line. So you're looking at liabilities. this is where it happens. This is the most important, and what happens. What's gonna matter to musicians, because I'm looking at June of last year. So here I had to rent a car for a tour. I put it there. I had to buy toilet paper for the band for the tour. Wrote it right here, musician pay. I hired Kiana Hutchinson to play a gig. So what you're seeing here, this 125 is, I got paid, I think it was $600 from the gig. And then we also, but on the books, what that really is that I hired Kiana for $125. I then hired Dylan to play bass for $125. That's what it is. Yeah, I can definitely share an example of this form through email for sure. And then Taylor, I'll get to your question in a sec, but absolutely. Another example. Let's say you're not. Let me find another example that's like a recording. Okay, here. So this, and now this, like if you're seeing here, this doesn't have to be from my bank accounts. This is from like Cash App. This is from Cash App. I remember this is from Venmo. This is another Venmo thing. This was a session for my solo project for a song, and I needed a bari sax. So I hit Will up. I said, "Hey, I need a bari sax. I can throw you $50." And he said, "Okay, cool." He showed up, played. I gave him $50. What it means on paper is that I'm business. I hired him as an independent contractor to execute to create my product. Similar, these are performances. I split the money with Flavio, so AKA I hired him for $100. Or okay, here I paid someone for master to master some tracks. That is, that's more like straightforward. Okay, I hired someone, so they're an independent contractor for me. Same thing in terms of assets. If I'm getting any money, let me show you what a gig looks like. Okay, here. Poetry Jazz Cafe paid us $300. And so this $300, that's what it is for me. And that's my asset for here. So I as a business get paid here. Now let me show you what it looks like if I'm a sideman and I'm playing for someone. Would be looking like where is that? Okay, here. So Damien Hawthorne, he's the manager of Royal Chaos, which is a reggae band that I play with, and he paid me we split $150 per musician for this gig in Montauk. And so this is me as a business getting $150 from that band instead of from the venue. So it really looks the same on the books. Let me pause here if you guys have any questions about this.
Yeah, Ben, wait, I don't know if you're checking the chat too. We have a couple questions that have come in. First I saw was Taylor talking about, she was asking, she's done something similar to this for her taxes, and she's wondering if she could use that same information from last year as the template for this.
Yeah, I've used it more as keeping track of what I had paid out per year, even though I do have like records of how much I like brought in. But I was wondering if I could use that kind of balance sheet.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you've done. So this is all work that ideally you should be doing for your taxes. Now, a lot of us are not reporting any of this on our taxes, which is, if you've done it for your taxes, that's the easiest way to get that information and apply for the loan. Because they're eventually gonna ask, they're not gonna need to see all these books. All they're gonna ask for is your total gross income and your expenses, which is just the total amount you paid out and the total amount you got. That's on your tax forms. It's the easiest way to get that.
Oh, okay. So if you filed, you could just send in that situation.
Yeah, you don't even have to right now because there's so many businesses that are in need. They're not even asking for forms. A lot of times they just have a form that are literally like, put your name, put your social, and then literally asking you how much do you need, what are your expenses, what is your income, and then submit, and they'll get back to you. Go to your bank first. And for mine is Wells Fargo. Let me show you what it looks like. So I'm logged into my online banking. This is what it looks like. Usually there's an account summary and all that, but nowadays you're seeing this this part that's like, need payment relief due to COVID-19 or Corona. Like, this is showing up more and more because instead of technically what it used to be was everyone's calling in or emailing asking for this form or like how to apply, and they've gotten so many inquiries that they've decided to set up automatic forms like this. So like if we click like need help now, it looks something like this. Like, okay, which account do you like help with? Let's say, yes, this is my credit card I need help with. What here, let me go back. What this used to show was my checking accounts too. And so this is one of the help, like I could apply for a checking account for my checking account, and I'm asking for a loan for that account. I mean, I got the loans I asked for, so that's why they're not showing up. But yeah, you go through this, and then there's a form. Okay, so it looks like this. Like this Wells Fargo. It's definitely gonna look different for Chase or US Bank or whatever you use, but it's gonna look similar. Like, it's just asking for, so like, yeah, I have financial hardship. Oh, this is great. This is different too. This one's saying that they're down to defer my credit card payments for 3 billing cycles. But the other forms are like, yeah, I need help. Yeah, I would like to apply for EIDL, or yeah, I would like to apply for a PPP. And then and another form will show up. I can't show it now because it's not popping up for me, but that's how you would actually apply. And essentially, the form looks like this. Let me show you. This is like a non-online version. This is how the PPP started. This is how they were starting to show it. I mean, all right, hold on a sec. I can't talk and type at the same time because I can't multitask. Where did I send that form? Oh yes, I sent it to you, Zalvin. I'm just pulling up the example of a form, but it's really simple. Give me 1 second. I just need to, I did not prepare this, so give me a sec to black out the social security numbers. Where is it? No. Okay, here it is. Everyone can see that? Okay, so here's what this is what it started off as, is this form that you fill out and then you send to your bank and everything. But now, since so many people have done this, banks have set up their own system and they don't even accept this form. They want you to do it through their automatic system, like I showed you. But they're gonna ask the exact same thing. They're gonna ask, check what is your business? For all of us, we are a sole proprietor, or we're an eligible self-employed individual.
What's the difference between that and an independent contractor?
If you got two, you gotta give up my money.
I think this is just if you have a specific account, if you have a specific account for a very specific thing. So like, let's say you are applying for a bank account that only has to do with the contractor work that you, like when you're playing for other people, you could check for this. I mean, most banks, you're not going to see eligible self-employed individual. You're not going to see independent contractor. You're just going to see self-proprietorship, partnership, if you're a corporation or if you're an LLC. And then, you know, of course, like if you're a tribal business or a nonprofit. Anyways, so yeah, check one. There's a DBA, which is does business as, or trade name if applicable. So for example, if everything has to do with like Olivia, I know like your stage name's Olivia K, right? So you could, yeah, you could say that, you could write down here that your business does business as Olivia K. You don't need to, but you can. So like if I ran Q&A, I could say that like I do business as Q&A, and that's the only business I do. Your business legal name. So let me just do this real quick. If I were doing it again, so this just be like, my business legal name is Benjamin Chin. That's my business. And then add my address. Now your business tax identification number. If you are registered, you would have an EIN, which is your employee identification number. Or just asking for your social. If you're not registered, business phone, primary contact, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now here, average monthly payroll. Here's the difference. I wish I could show you an EIDL form. On the EIDL, instead of payroll, it's going to ask for your expenses, because a PPP is designed specifically for you to continue hiring the people you hired. This one's asking specifically for how much you're paying, for a musician, how much you're paying your bassists, your guitarists, and keyboardists, and producers, and everything. So if I were to fill this out, I see that, okay, maybe I spent $5,000 last year on paying people. Like that's how much I spent, like, and we split the money. And here, because it's a PPP, again, it's asking, so what it does is here, it's saying multiply that by 2.5, and that's how much you can ask for. So math, that is 10, that's 12.5 plus, so that's 12 plus my EIDL loan that I'm requesting for. So let's say I apply for another 10K from EIDL, so the total is 22. Number of employees, let's say I hired, I don't know, 10 different people throughout the year. And then select the purpose of the loan. It's payroll for me because I am paying, this is paying for musicians. If there are utilities, I could say this. It's other, there's nothing there. And then there's a part that asks for your ownership. So basically it is asking who owns your business and what are the details. For me, since I'm just sole proprietorship, it's still just Benjamin Chin. I am the founder of myself. I own 100%. This is blah, blah, blah. And then address. And then down here, it's just going to ask like, have you been bankrupt before? No. Have you defaulted on loans before in the last 7 years? No. Am I owner with any other business? Like, so basically it's asking, am I applying for this twice? And then I say no. And this is, have you gotten an EIDL? Yes or no? So then right there. And then from here, it's just like, are you criminal? Have you been incarcerated? Felonies? The United States, do you live in the US? And are you a franchise? No, we're not franchises. And then just a bunch of things to sign. And that's it. That's what the form is. That's all it's gonna ask. So like I said, like most of the work that you're doing is not really in the application process. It's really in the bookkeeping process. And so when I realized I wanted to do this for Q&A and for Resonator, it took me like a month to get all the shit together. Mostly because I was dragging ass. But all the work I did was really for bookkeeping, more than for applying. And then the nice thing about it is all this work that you do, you can use it for in a lot of other cases. Relief funds, there are a lot of relief funds out there. They're still happening, grants and all this. They're gonna ask for the same information, and the more exact you have anyways, the better, right? If you can say on a grant, like, I am asking for this amount because I spend this amount of money for my business, easy for them to give you money. And then the nice thing about it is all this work that you do, you can use it for in a lot of other cases. Relief funds, there are a lot of relief funds out there. They're still happening, grants and all this. They're gonna ask for the same information, and the more exact you have anyways, the better, right? If you can say on a grant, like, I am asking for this amount because I spend this amount of money for my business, easy for them to give you money.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I have a band. I usually pay X amount of money. I'm not doing any of those performances, right? So, like, I'm just like, yes, that's what I would pay people if we were having gigs. I'm just,
So
am I paying them that now? Like, what is, like, so am I getting this for me, or is this for them?
So this is, the EIDL doesn't have to be for them. So the EIDL can be for your expenses and anything you're paying them, like if you're paying like producers, you know, like some of us are still getting mixes done and everything.
Sure.
We're paying, so that's what it'd be for. For me, when I did it with Q&A, what I did was, like, I'm no longer hiring Dylan to play bass for me. I'm no longer hiring Soup to rap for me. But I applied for $2,000 to pay them for the notes they're giving on the mixes I'm getting.
Interesting.
Because I'm asking them to give me notes on, like, oh, is the vocal too high? Is the bass sound right? That's information I don't have. That's expertise that I don't have. And that's the service they're providing me. I'm paying them for that service. So I'm paying them $500 for telling me if the mix is right. That's how I framed it. You could frame it as, like, it could be a retainer. You could pay your musicians a retainer. You know, you could get like $10,000 and say, all right, I'm paying you $1,000 in this time to be on retainer for me, so that when we play a gig to get the next gig that I have for this business, you are playing with me. And they're like, okay. And like, and that money doesn't have to go for that gig. They can say that this is money just for the retainer. And then when you get the gig and there's $100 you're supposed to pay them, then that's what you pay them for that activity.
Oh my God.
I love that.
Piggybacking off of what Ben was saying, like, I think that's just also an amazing way that we can give back to our fellow musicians right now. Like, if you're a band leader and you're in the position where you've been doing this allows you to legitimize a way that, it supports the whole community at large. If those of us who put on our own gigs can, like, just even little something to keep everybody
Mama
afloat.
with the shits, yes.
Not even just band leaders. If you are a event producer, if you
Right.
events, you can look out for your DJs. You can look out for all your open mic artists. Like, you can look out for the musicians that sat in on your jam sessions. You can look out for people that were doing photography. Like, if you were an event person, you can look out for basically every person that worked at the venue or worked at event. As
Totally. And also, if you're hiring producers, like, there's producers you always work with, you can use this. You can say, hey, I'm going to pay you a retainer. I don't know, if I was a producer and I got that, shit, I would keep producing for that person for cheaper, probably. I don't know, that business relationship is going to last for a long ass time. I do want to say, like, this is a lot of work. This is a lot of, like, this is a different frame of thinking, a different mindset. This is the way, like, this feels really new to us because A, we're young, or B, quite frankly, we're minorities. But this is how white people, like, get ahead. It's because they spend the money. I mean, they spend the time doing all this shit to get the money. Like, they spend the time, they spend the time doing their books. They spend the time applying for all this. They spend the time thinking about themselves as a business and, like, listing their lunches as business expenses. And, like, that mindset change, and that, that's how, like, just think about what the fuck Jeff Bezos does in order to save money. Like, what he like,
Let's go, Ben. It just got real, bro. You act like you ain't good at speeches, bro.
That's what I felt, though, because that man has been a corporation in his own mind for like 25 years. Like, he's been operating as a solo corporation, and now he finally got the tax validation to make it happen.
Yeah, we don't have to go too macro, but it is an important point to make, which is just, like, understand the rules. You know what I mean? There are a lot of obstacles to overcome, and we can feel oppressed in a lot of ways. But if you understand how the game works and you take the time to, like, understand the structure of things can go a lot better. The fact that Ben and I have a corporation right now, the fact that Resonator exists as an entity has meant we're in a much better position right now than we would have been. You know what I mean? It's just, and especially in America, because America makes sure to take care of its corporations. It makes sure to take care of its business interests. So things we may not be able to, as individuals, as just living, breathing people, we may not be able to receive help. But as business people, as people who keep the economy growing and thriving and all those things, there are resources there for us. So, there's something to keep in mind.
Exactly.
I think we've reached the conclusion, the official demarcation point conclusion for this particular talk. I want to thank you all for coming and contributing your questions. And
thank you for the information.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, give a. It's gonna be a silent hand clap for Ben for clap it up for Ben for walking us through all of this. Once recorded, and we're gonna make this available for everybody for free, so that y'all can go back, whatever you missed, rewind, make sure you get all the details and get this done for yourself. We're also always happy, if y'all have some questions, like, come talk to us. We're here to help the community, and we want to make sure that we all get this money, honey. So let's keep it going. This is the method. Once again, our regular series dealing with these kind of things. If there are any things in particular you want us to deal with, come talk to us too. We'd be happy to get ideas on what you want to hear about, but we can start exploring what topics that we need to tackle right now. Yeah, we're doing this bi-weekly, so today is whatever the day is. Today, the 13th, and then we're gonna have one not next week, but the week after that.
In the bathroom?
And we're just gonna keep
Okay.
that going. So yeah, appreciate all of you. Ben, do you want to add anything?
No, I think he said everything I wanted to say. Oh, look, Will's in my house again.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're done.
Yeah.